Hello everyone, welcome to our podcast. My name is Shreyas Garg and I'm here with my co-hosts.
Hi guys, I'm Abhiram.
Hi, I'm Tanish.
Hi, I'm Arhan.
Hi, I'm Ashvi.
So I just came across this story that I had to share with you guys. And maybe we can talk about more in depth with this. So in a small village in Rajasthan, there lived a 9-year-old boy. His name was Indra Meghwal. He belonged to a Dalit family, which we all know is the bottom of the bottom in the caste hierarchy. His village was called Surana village, and over there he was attending this local school called Saraswati Vidya Mandir. It was a village, and there is not much electricity, obviously. So people stored water in pots, which is very helpful in the harsh environment of the desert because it keeps the water cool. And it's a much healthier alternative to refrigerators. So one day the boy was feeling thirsty and he wanted to drink some water. So he went up to the pots which they were kept in. Now, a pot looks like a pot, right? It is not really distinguishable between any other pot. So he just drank some water, but unknowingly he drank water from a pot that was reserved for the upper caste people. Now his teacher, Chail Singh, saw him drinking water from a pot he wasn't supposed to be drinking from. And he started beating him. He started beating him mercilessly. He beat him so much that he was hospitalized for 20 days and he died to brain hemorrhage. His family, desperate for help, wandered from hospital to hospital, but doors remained shut and compassion was scarce. Why did other hospitals turn them away? Was it because he was a Dalit? Or was there pressure from higher authorities? The village panchayat entrusted with justice remained silent. Community representatives averted their eyes, and the tragedy unfolded in darkness. Indra's family received no support, no moral compass, no financial aid, no legal assistance. The upper caste leaders whispered in of compensation, urging silence. When they approached the local police, they encountered indifference. The police denied the existence of the water pot altogether. But if it didn't exist, why was Indra thrashed so severely? Why did the administrators turn a blind eye? Why did medical workers fail to provide immediate attention? Sadly, this has been going on in India for a very long time. Dalits have been subjugated to a lot of unfair discrimination and have been treated like mere insects, mercilessly killed and suppressed by the upper caste of society.
Yes, Shresh, you are absolutely right, and I support your point of view. Considering the tragic incident in Rajasthan, a young boy's access to water, a basic human right, is denied not out of hygiene concerns but because of his caste. This wouldn't be possible without a deeply ingrained belief system that elevates upper castes and deems other untouchable. The belief system, with its roots in the foundational structure of caste, dictates social interactions and reinforces the idea of inherent superiority and inferiority. To truly understand contemporary India, we must delve into the foundational role that caste plays. It's not simply a social hierarchy, it's a pervasive system that dictates everything from birth rituals to death rites, from the profession one inherits to one who can marry. Perry Anderson, in his seminal work, The Indian Ideology, argues that the British Raj, while dismantling some aspects of the caste system, inadvertently solidified its hold on Indian society. Pre colonial India had a complex caste system with some degree of social mobility. However, the British introduced a rigid classification system, leveraging caste for administrative purposes. The census driven approach froze social identities, treating caste as a fixed and scientific category, a stark contrast to its more fluid nature before. This colonial legacy of categorizing and compartmentalizing continues to shape how we perceive caste today. Even after independence, efforts to fully dismantle the system haven't fully addressed its foundational nature. Caste goes far beyond the individual. It shapes entire communities, determining their access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities. Upper caste dominance in certain professions creates a self perpetuating cycle, making it harder for lower castes to break through. Imagine a young Dalit girl dreaming of becoming a doctor, but lacking the resources and societal support to pursue that dream. This is the harsh reality for many in India, a direct consequence of a caste system that is foundational to the social and economic structure. Perry Anderson challenges us to confront this uncomfortable truth. By acknowledging caste as foundational, not incidental, to India's existence, we can begin to dismantle it. His work compels us to critically examine historical narratives and the ideological underpinnings of the caste system. Ignoring it allows these inequalities to persist. Only by acknowledging its foundational role can we develop effective solutions and strive for a future where caste no longer dictates one's destiny and India can truly live up to its ideal of a just and equitable society. And it's not just about right now. The caste system has its roots deep in India's history.
Yes, the caste system. It's a complex and hierarchical social structure that has been a defining feature of Indian society for millennia and underwent significant transformation under British colonial rule. The British colonial administration, in its efforts to govern and control the vast and diverse population of India, played a crucial role in reshaping and redefining the caste identities, embedding them within the legal and bureaucratic frameworks of the nation. This historical context is critical to understand the complexities of dismantling a system so deeply embedded in India's consciousness, as Perry Anderson explores in his book The Indian Ideology. The British colonial administration's engagement with the caste system was shaped by the combination of factors, including their own biases, the need to maintain the control over the population, and the desire to extract resources from the country. The British viewed the caste system as a means of social control and used it to their advantage in their administrative and economic endeavors. They codified the caste system into law, creating a rigid hierarchy that reinforced existing social hierarchies and created new ones. The British also used the caste system to divide and rule, pitting different caste groups against each other and creating a system of patronage and dependence. The British colonial administrators' efforts to understand and categorize the caste system resulted in creation of extensive documentation and data collection, which further solidified caste identities and hierarchies. The British census, for example, which was conducted every 10 years, included detailed information about caste, religion, and occupation. This data was used to create a system of classification and categorization that reinforced the existing social hierarchy and created new divisions within the society. The British colonial and administration's engagement with the caste system had far reaching consequences for Indian society. The codification of the caste system into law, the creation of a rigid hierarchy, and the use of caste system as a means of social control all contributed to the deepening of caste identities and the enrichment of caste hierarchies within the Indian society. The colonial administrators' effort to understand and categorize the caste system also contributed to the creation of vast and detailed bureaucracy that further solidified the caste identities and hierarchies. In The Indian Ideology by Perry Anderson explores the legacy of British colonialism and its impact on Indian society with a particular focus on the caste system. Anderson argues that the British colonial administration's engagement with the caste system played a significant role in shaping the modern Indian nation state and social and political structures that define it. He contends that the caste system, which was once a fluid, dynamic social structure, was transformed into a rigid and hierarchical system under the British colonial rule, with far-reaching consequences for Indian society. Anderson's analysis of the caste system in India is rooted in a deep understanding of historical context of British colonialism and its impact on Indian society. He argues that the caste system, which was once a means of social organization and identity, was transformed into a tool of social control and exploitation under the British rule. Anderson's analysis of the caste system in India is also informed by the critical understanding of the role of Indian nationalist movement in the shaping of the modern Indian state. He argues that the Indian nationalist movement, which was dominated by upper class elites, failed to challenge the caste system and instead reinforced existing social hierarchies. The Indian nationalist movement, according to Anderson, it was categorized by the lack of critical engagement with the caste system and a failure to address the deep seated inequalities and injustices that it perpetuated. Anderson also discusses the role of key Indian leaders like Gandhi and Nehru in the post independence era. He suggests that despite their progressive ideas, they failed to adequately address the caste issues, allowing it to persist in independent India. On this note, Ashwi will be continuing further.
In present. The Indian independence movement, as Perry Anderson studied, was a complex affair marked by a struggle between ideals of nationalism and the harsh realities of caste. This quest to forge a national identity was fraught with inherent contradictions, where the version of a unified nation often collided with the entrenched social hierarchies. Take, for instance, key leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru. Gandhi famously argued against caste, championing an egalitarian society. Yet, he sometimes appeared ambivalent, pushing for reform within the system rather than its outright elimination. Nehru too envisioned a modern secular nation, but couldn't entirely shake off caste assumptions which subtly influenced policies even after India achieved independence. This tension between the nationalist ideals and the realities of caste is a recurring theme Anderson highlights in his work. The movement, while trying to transcend these social structures, was ironically shaped by them, a contradiction that continues to influence India's socio-political fabric today.
Continuing from what Ashwi said, I'll be bridging the past and the present. Perry Anderson also discusses how four foundational tropes have shaped India's intellectual and national identity narratives: antiquity, continuity, diversity, unity, massivity, democracy, and multi-confessionality and secularity. Each trope, while central to the Indian identity, somewhat overlooks the deep-seated inequalities, especially those stemming from the caste system. The real challenge doesn't lie in discarding these historical narratives, but in critically engaging with them to address the obscured inequalities. For example, the trope of antiquity continuity needs to acknowledge historical exclusions beyond its romanticized view of a continuous civilization. Likewise, the celebrated diversity unity must genuinely address the actual divides, be they social, economic, or political, that fragment Indian society. Furthermore, the massivity democracy trope praises India's vast democracy, but often overlooks disparities in political representation, underscoring the need to make democratic processes more inclusive. And the multi-confessionality secularity, which highlights India's secular commitment, must deal with the realities of communalism and religious intolerance. By facing these historical legacies head on, India can aim to construct a future that truly embodies and aspires that all its citizens rooted firmly in the ideals of the independence movement. This approach offers a deeper understanding of the intricate challenges that have long shaped India's identity and the steps that need to be forged for a truly inclusive and equitable future.
I believe we would like to conclude by saying that the caste system in India, which has been a defining feature of Indian society for millennia, underwent significant transformation under British colonial rule. The British colonial administration's engagement with the caste system, which was shaped by a combination of biases, the need to maintain control over the population, and the desire to extract resources from the country, played a crucial role in reshaping and redefining caste identities, embedding them within the legal and bureaucratic frameworks of the nation. This historical context is critical to understanding the complexities of dismantling a system so deeply embedded in India's consciousness, as Perry Anderson explores in his book The Indian Ideology. The British colonial administration's engagement with the caste system had far-fetching consequences for Indian society, including the deepening of caste identities and the entrenchment of caste hierarchies within Indian society. The legacy of British colonialism and its impact on Indian society, particularly with regard to the caste system, continues to shape the social and political structures of the modern Indian state. Hence, it is proven that caste is foundational to India's existence.